Chasing Tales, Episode 15, Lock, Stock, and Barrel.
Welcome back to Chasing Tales. How will Brenna's story end?
I sat in the shop where I lived for 8 years. I wasn't ready to let Brenna go. There was so much I needed to know.
So, what did you and Ressa do while she was away?
We talked and tried to find a way to stop them from killing her. Ressa and Helga sat around the room with nothing to do. Ressa? I want your help to fix this since you started it.
What if I say no?
Helga holds up her hand and a circle appears around Ressa and she's stuck in place. She tries to pull it away, but the circle prevents it. Since you are staying, you will do something useful. Ressa sat on the bed huffing. Helga moved her hand closer to her, dragging Ressa's circle and Ressa to the table. Helga began pulling books from secret places. She stacked them on the table and pulled the most likely helpers. She opened a book in front of Ressa, opened another book, and sat down. Brenna sat in the cell at the sheriff's office.
Miss, it don't do no good resisting. You'll just do yourself a mischief.
A mischief? I think I'm in hot water enough, don't you? If I was a witch, do you really think this could hold me?
These are pure iron bars made right here in town. Everybody knows that iron stops magic.
Brenna rolls her eyes. Daniel, didn't I cure your son of a serious fever 2 years ago?
Yas'm, you did.
So should I not have saved him?
We're awful grateful you did.
So which is it? You let the local healer help you, or you let a witch cure your son?
I'm just doing my job, miss. Please don't try tricking me to help you.
So what comes next, Daniel?
There'll be a trial as soon as we can get folks who can testify. Your little miss will have a lot to say, I bet.
Brenna knew better. Helga knew she'd just been protecting her. She regretted what she'd made out of paranoia, but it was done now. She might as well use it to her advantage. The failsafe would at least place Helga out of harm. A rat runs close to Brenna and she stomps it angrily with the metal boot she's wearing, then winces in pain. Daniel came back with a brazier and some tongs. He placed it inside the cell in front of Brenna. He lit it and set the tongs in the beginnings of a fire. Reverend Waverly was close at hand outside the cell.
You need to tell me who else is in your coven.
There is no one. I'm just a person who makes things with plants. Why don't you believe that?
Hey, you can skip the torture part of this. I don't have the stomach for it.
No problem. Thinking about what I saw was plenty enough for me. Ressa sat sullenly rooted to the spot by the fashionable magic of the time. She growled and refused to help.
You are spoiling my fun, you know.
You got us into this mess. Now be quiet, or I'll banish you.
Well, if you're going to talk to me like that, I'm not helping you.
You get worse than hell. Now pay attention. Ressa angrily flips pages and scribbles and doodles on some paper at hand. You're looking for a way to save Brenna. A portal or some other kind of thing.
Why do you even care about saving her? She's just a washed-up old woman.
Helga stands and sings a couple of notes. The summoning circle radiates pink light from under the table. Ressa's feet begin to burn. You take that back. I would take her place if she would go free. I owe her. Things are fine until you came along and started trouble.
You were miserable, and you know it. I might not have even bothered with you if it weren't so strong.
Get back to work. Just because things are hard sometimes doesn't mean everything's wrong. You deal with it, and you move through. You'd have had me kill her outright. Ressa began to read, happy to have riled up Helga's passion. Ressa soaked in the anger, happily smiling to herself. Helga wrote a little note to send to the jail for Brenna. She tied it onto a pigeon in the backyard and flung it away for her. St. Chris would find his way. Aislinn and Mistress stand in front of the wall of images of real things happening in real time. He was fascinated by it, mesmerized.
This is where I work. I can see everything in my quadrant.
So where's Pink?
Mistra turns the dial to focus on Pink. She's telling stories to Kevin in her dressing room.
I already knew, but that's pretty nifty.
Aislinn rubs the back of his neck and shifts around.
Mistra,
Yes?
if I was going to extract an angel, what would I need to know?
Still thinking about Leulalia?
Sin asked me if I'd plan the heist.
This will be a good step for you. Help you integrate. But to your question, 1, where? 2, what are you up against? And 3, the timing. Timing is very important. I wouldn't walk into the Hell's guns blazing, though, with the treaty and everything.
I have some ideas, but I'll have to check with 1 or 2 others and see what we have available.
Speak to Dan. It's what his team does.
Could they make this any easier?
Brenna's screams had subsided, and they untied her so she could walk around. The heavy iron bands were cumbersome, but she could at least scratch and feel the burning, swollen whelps up her forearms. They wandered off out of sight for a few minutes. Brenna sighed, finally alone. She heard a rustling outside of her window. A pigeon. There was a message tied to its leg. She unrolled it and was delighted to see what looked like chicken scratch, their secret code. B. Expect rain. H. Helga, what are you planning? In Sinister Suites, Dan, Mistra, Otto, and Sin sit at a table. Aislinn appears to complete the group. He doesn't waste time.
So our friend here has a problem. We need an extraction. We can't go into the Hells, so we need a solution to snatch an angel in a disruption collar in the middle of a room full of demons without getting clipped ourselves. Dan?
Dazzling display to get us in, but an angel would have to be there.
Can we use a construct to commit dazzling display remotely? Otto, is that something that you can do?
Yeah, I can come up with something. What else does it need to do?
Make a distraction, and it should be able to go through the portal and back.
I'm on it. From the image you sent me, it looks like a Class 6 collar.
You'll need 2 portals to capture her in that case.
Otto gets up and walks away.
I'll be your eyes in the sky, so to speak. So I can alert you when things go wrong.
Misra, I'll need the coordinates for the stage and Pharaohs.
So let me get this straight. You're gonna send a drone in, and we're gonna go cross portal.
That's pretty much it. It should only take seconds.
What about the wards?
Wards?
Pharaohs is covered in anti-magic. You'll need to disable that somehow, too. Unless you can get her outside.
Okay, so how do we take down the wards?
Leave that to me. You'll need another angel to cast portal for you. I will be occupied with other magic.
That just leaves me and Sin. We're on portals.
No.
Helga and Ressa sat reading. A smile spread across Helga's face. She knew what to do. A knock came to the door. Helga dismissed the circle, and Ressa disappeared. She put the books back where they came from and straightened her apron to answer the door. Reverend Waverly and the constable were standing there together.
Come with me, miss. We'll want you to say your piece.
Let me get my shawl. She did so and walked out with them, locking the shop door. They guided her to the church where many people had gathered in the churchyard, some there to testify, some for the spectacle. The guard bustled them in. The burgomaster, who served as the magistrate over the case, is there, in his ridiculous wig, glaring at the assembly menacingly.
All right, settle down, everyone. Get seated.
He turns and nods at the constable, who retrieves the prisoner. They have her chained, and she's having a hard time walking. The signs of torture are all over her. She's barefoot in a dirty shift. Her hair is partially burned off. She has a black eye. There are severe burns and stripes up both her arms. Helga's heart goes out to her. Brenna doesn't look at her, but stands as best she can given her injuries.
Brenna Tannenbaum, you are accused of being a witch. How do you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor. There's a rustle of murmuring and movement.
Reverend Waverly, give us your proof.
She has the devil's mark. And it has been said that she has caused harm in the village.
Has she confessed?
No, sir, she has been resolute.
Call your first witness.
Helga Holtzfaller.
Helga stands and moves to the box to answer their questions. She places her hand on the Bible and swears to tell the truth.
Helga, how did you come to be under this woman's care?
My parents could not afford to keep me, so they sent me away. I was attacked and Brenna rescued me.
Who attacked you?
Some boys, sir.
What sort of attack was this?
They wanted to make free with me, sir, and I managed to get away, but I was injured and passed out in the lane.
How long have you been under her care?
8 years, sir.
And have you heard from your parents in all this time?
9, sir.
Are you certain that this happened?
I am certain, sir.
Have you seen her do magic?
No more than coaxing God's own medicine from plants. You know that that's no magic at all. Even the monks use herbs to heal.
Simple answers are all that is required, miss. Does she disappear at night?
9, sir. I am always in her line of sight.
When you sleep, how can you know?
I just know, sir. She would never leave me in the night and leave me vulnerable.
You mean to say she is always close by you? She afraid you will run away?
9, sir. There is no danger in that. I enjoy the work.
And what sort of work do you do?
We make ointments, salves, and potions.
And you have learned these skills from her?
Yes, sir. I made the cream for you myself. There was nothing more than crushed arnica in a binder.
Indeed.
Is the bruising from your accident healed, sir? The Reverend looks at the Burgermeister, who waves his hand to get this moving more quickly.
You are not here to ask questions. Please stick to the proceedings. Have you ever seen her angry?
Rarely, sir. Everyone feels frustrated sometimes.
What was she like, angry?
Like anyone, I suppose. A bit of venting and some quiet time to pray and reflect.
Do you go to church regularly? Go to confession?
Yes, sir. Most Sundays we attend, and I make confession once a week. Reverend Waverly pauses for a moment. Burgermeister leans out onto the podium and waves Reverend Klaus over.
Reverend Klaus, can you confirm?
Reverend Klaus nods to the judge.
For what reason might you miss church?
Usually it's because we have a large altar to make and have to watch the pots so they do not burn.
So, working on a Sunday then?
If you could call it that. We don't even make food on Sunday, we eat simply.
No more questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Next witness. Young lady, do stay close. We may want to talk to you again.
Helga gratefully steps down and resumes her seat.
Farmer Coke, come forward.
The farmer comes forward and stands in the box. He swears on God's word to be true, and the questions resume.
Farmer Coke, please tell us again what your grievance is with the accused.
She came and set my boy's leg a couple of years back, but I couldn't pay her.
What happened next?
Well, he got gangrene and he died soon after.
And you believe that she caused him to die because you could not pay?
Yes, sir.
Helga knew this incident, and that the instructions were quite specific. Clearly he'd not followed them and the boy had gotten an infection and died, not because Brenna had done something to him.
And is there any way you could prove that she did this?
We found 3 dead turtle doves in our their yard the morning that he died, and I'll bring her trouble.
No further questions for this witness.
The man stepped down, and the murmur of the gallery rose again. The hammering of the gavel quieted them down.
Next witness.
Goody Cross, come forward.
Helga knew something was wrong now. Goody Cross was bedridden. They'd been to her house only a few days ago to take food.
Goody Cross, you have been sick for some time, is that true?
Yes, sir.
What with?
Oh, a burning in me legs that made it hard to walk.
And it does not hurt you now?
No, sir. The pain stopped as soon as the woman was arrested.
Helga squinted her eyes at Goody. She could see the traces of magic on her. Her eyes were wrong somehow. Russa.
Why would she want you to be sick?
I couldn't rightly say, but even as young girls we didn't get on. I married the man she was engaged to previously.
And is your husband still alive?
No, sir. He was trampled by a carriage. God rest his soul.
When was this?
Only a couple of years ago. I believe she was trying to take him back from me. I have found many a letter between them in his things.
Are these letters in the court's possession?
Yes, sir.
Please take your seat, Goody. No further questions, sir.
Next witness.
I call Arlo Fisher.
Arlo strides confidently to the box and stands rigidly waiting. He swears on the Bible, and they move on.
Do you own the property next to the accused's shop?
Yeah, I do, sir.
And you live there, or is it vacant?
I live there, sir, yes.
Have you ever seen the accused and her charge apart?
Never, sir. The girl always walks behind that woman, head down. Not like the other normal village girls, her age, who ought to be married by now.
So, had you made an offer of marriage to the young woman?
I did, sir.
And what was your answer?
The woman refused to let me near Miss Helga.
And what did she say was the reason?
That she had other plans for the girl, that she was not in the market for her husband, you see, until her training was complete and she was established in the village as the new healer.
Did the girl indicate any interest in you at all?
No, as I said, I was not let near her except during business, and that was no time to get to know someone, if you get me drift, sir.
This isn't a magical attack on you, sir. What is your grievance?
Well, I say she's keeping the girl for a number of reasons. Maybe they have unnatural relations, but the girl has no suitors at all. Must have cast some kind of spell to repel them. As pretty and hard-working as the girl is, she certainly should be married, Your Honour.
Helga shook her head sadly. The man had never spoken to her other than the regular things you say. Good morning, good evening, nice weather, etc. She knew Arlo had also tried to buy Brenna's shop many times in the last 4 years. It was no secret that he wanted her property to add to his meager holdings. He was ambitious and proud, and Helga had no desire at all to marry him.
That will be all, sir. This is my last witness.
Very well. Let us recess, and we will consider the evidence.
The court fell again into murmurs as people began to file out. They gave Helga a wide berth. Arlo brushed her provocatively as he passed. Later, Helga sat alone in the shop. A message came that Brenna's execution was set for dusk that day. She walked out into the village square where they were setting up the post to set her alight. She staked out a spot as people were already gathering to watch. The guard was there to keep anyone from interfering with the pyre. As the light of day began to wane, they bustled Brenna into the open air. They had taken off the remainder of her hair. Her head was roughly shaved and bloody. She went like a lamb, though. They tied her up. The burgomaster came to give a speech, droning on about justice and mercy and other nonsense. Brenna looked to the sky as they lit the brush beneath her. Brenna caught Helga's eye and shook her head to whatever she had planned. Helga was more resolved than ever. She began to sing quietly under her breath, her eyes locked with her mentor's. Water began to move. The flames were beginning to get higher. The smoke made Brenna's throat sore. She coughed out the word fish. Helga disappeared. The water stopped and the fire burned on. Brenna's screams filling the square. Fire glowed in the eyes of all present. In the rain barrel behind the shop, a pink fish swam about in circles, confused. Ressa leaned over it, laughing.
Did you really think I would help you with your poultry magic?
Helga the fish blinked her eyes.
I could just kill you now. It would be like spearing fish in a barrel. However, I have other plans for you.
Ressa scooped Helga out of the barrel and into a bucket. She walked the bucket to the stream that went to the river and dumped her in.
What has Brenna done to Helga? A plan is in place to save Lalea, and someone new is visiting the Splish Splash Club. What will happen next? Stay tuned for episode 16, Back to the Future.
Hey everybody, Pink Salmon here. I just wanted to stop and thank Daryl, Slim, and Pixie for helping me get my computer fixed this week so that I could have an episode out on time. Remember that next week is the season finale for season 2. I'll see you there.